How's everybody doing? Welcome back to another Dead Wax Records video. I'm in the same outfit as the last video that was posted on the channel, filmed in the same night. But a year ago, I don't know if you guys remember, November-ish of last year, the big talk on the town was the Beatles, because in October they released their final song, Now and Then. I ended up buying it on record as 12-inch and CD, single. And another big thing that they were doing at the time were the red and blues is what they call them. The remasters of them. These are the ones that dropped last year. The new track listings, remastered audios. This one ended off with Now and Then, which I think you couldn't call it 67 to 70, but you technically could. You technically couldn't. Whatever. So I figured I would review these two because this was almost a year ago. Like this week or next week or something like that. I think it's next week. Because when these released, I had taken my trip to Canada, which I'm taking again this year. Just a week difference from last year. And I picked these both up. These were $40 each in Canada in the record stores. So I paid $80 for these. But I had to have them because they were new at the time and I needed to listen to the Beatles that were remastered. So I'm going to go through these. We're going to break it down track by track. So stick along for the ride here. Alright, so we're going to start off with the Beatles, 62 to 66. Pretty standard CD case here. You kind of get this fold out with the booklet and then the double discs each in there. So pop it into the stereo. You're first going to hear Love Me Do. Then you get to Please Please Me. I Saw Her Standing There. Twist and Shout. From Me to You. She Loves You. I Want to Hold Your Hand. And This Boy. It's the first 8. I would say, overall, the first 8, by the 8th song, is genuinely when you have an idea where an album's going to go. If it's a big compilation like this, you're halfway through the first disc, a little less than halfway through the first disc, and the entire first Beatles record and half of the second one you've listened to. Well, not the entire, but the singles off of it. And you're like, wow, they sounded good. Then you get All My Lovin', Roll Over Beethoven, You Really Got a Hold on Me, Can't Buy Me Love, You Can't Do That, Hard Day's Night, And I Love Her, 8 Days a Week, I Feel Fine, Ticket to Ride, and Yesterday closes out the first disc. The first disc really popped. It grabbed me in. Like I said, listened to all 4 discs at one go when I first got it. They were in the stereo all week. They were my grandparents' stereo when I was in Canada. Every second that I was near the stereo, there was Beatles pumping out because I couldn't get enough of the newly remastered tracks. You pop the second disc in, it starts off with Help. Man, it is a powerful version of Help on this disc. It really just knocks you out. Then you go to You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, We Can Work It Out. Day Tripper and Drive My Car both really kind of pop on this. Norwegian Wood, Nowhere Man, Michelle really sounds great on this one. In My Life, If I Needed Someone, Girl, Paperback Writer, and Eleanor Rigby, they blow you away. I mean, they put those out in the box set, the Revolver box set that I picked up at the exact same time. Revolver's my favorite Beatles record. Picked that up at the exact same, I think the exact same day that I had, yeah, in fact, it was the same day that I got these, and I had popped the box set open first and listened to the box set. Sounds like the same versions, I believe they are, that are on the single disc that are here. So Yellow Submarine, Taxman, Gotta Get You Into My Life, I'm Only Sleeping, Here, There, and Everywhere, and Tomorrow Never Knows. Pretty much all the big stuff off of Revolver. I think it's the same mixes. They are the same mixes if I'm remembering correctly from somebody else I was talking to. Granted, they could have done a little something different, but it was only a year difference then, so they didn't really need to remaster it. But overall, this first compilation sounds absolutely amazing. If you're an early Beatles fan and you're not really a fan of the later stuff, give this a check out. It goes from their first record up to Revolver. Highly recommend that one. Okay, on to the next. Beatles 67 to 70. Personally, this is my favorite Beatles compilation out of either of them. If I had to pick, it'd be this one. Just because of the intricacy of the songs. Again, the exact same format, just blue and slightly aged Beatles. So, first off, disc 1 starts out with Strawberry Fields Forever. Wow. Let me just say, That version of the song, I don't know when it was remastered or mixed. I think they redid it for this one. Sounds absolutely freaking amazing. Penny Lane really pops on here. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band really rips. And again, I had bought all the Beatles Anniversary 2 discs at the exact time that I was buying this. So not all of them. I do have 3. And I picked up 2, Abbey Road, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And I listened to these back to back. And I think they're the exact same recordings, but they might be a little bit enhanced. With a little help from my friends. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, I've never liked that track personally. Within You, Without You, A Day in the Life, All You Need Is Love, I Am the Walrus, Hello Goodbye, The Fool on the Hill, Magical Mystery Tour, another song I could do without. Lady Madonna sounds immaculate on here. Hey Jude, and you end with one of my favorite Beatles tracks, Revolution. You know, you say you want a revolution, hey, hey. When he sings that line, man, if you put it in a stereo that's really going to pump out, it's going to sound like John's in the room with you on that track. It really just, you know, that guitar at the beginning really just soars in over your head on this one. So I was very eager when I listened to these. I recently listened to both of these, so I know what I'm talking about. And so I'm not going off of what I listened to a year ago. I'm going off of what I've listened to this past week, giving them a re-listen a year later, what I think of these. Never bought these on vinyl yet. I have the old versions on vinyl, just not these new ones. So I popped in disc 2. Couldn't wait. It starts with Back in the USSR. You know that plane noise is really loud on this one. Dear Prudence, While My Guitar Gently Weeps sounds immaculate. Obla Di, Obla Da, Glass Onion, Blackbird, Hey Bulldog. I find Hey Bulldog sounds pretty good on this one. Around the same time, I also bought the White Album, triple disc. You get the album, and then you get those session outtakes. And I listened my way through that, and it sounds better than it does on the actual album on here. Get Back, Don't Let Me Down, The Ballad of John and Yoko, Old Brown Shoe, Here Comes the Sun, Come Together, Something. Octopus's Garden sounds pretty good on here. Oh Darling, I Want You, Let It Be, Across the Universe. And then a nice touch that they did with these, that obviously it ends off with the ending there of Let It Be. And that was it. That's where they used to cut off. And obviously there's an alternate track and they're adding songs. They added, I, Me, Mine is another one on there. Well, then they added The Long and Winding Road and Now and Then. I don't know if you remember, but that's the songs they worked on after some of the Beatles had passed away, after George and John were passed away. Or I think they worked on The Long and Winding Road with John, and then with George. John had long been dead, and when George passed away, they recently did Now and Then. So if I had to pick between these two, I would easily go with the blue. I would say the blue, the songs on it are pop more. I think they were able to do more with it because it was, more recent. But I'm going to show you the versions that I used to compare the songs off of there too. So this is the first piece of Beatles physical media I ever owned. This is my favorite Beatles album, Revolver. I have the 2-disc set. But I also have the ginormous box set that I reviewed on the channel that I used for this particular listen through was this to compare to the CD box set. I used that to compare. It's the same thing as this 2-disc, but I used the single disc. And then for the Abbey Road comparisons, I used the double disc anniversary edition and then the double disc of that anniversary edition. And then for the White Album stuff, I did this triple disc, the Anniversary 3 CD. You get the Escher demos, but obviously you don't use the Escher demos to, compare it to anything because it's the Escher demos. It's its own thing to go into. But this is what I used, the recent release of that. So they were all bought. I was going through a huge Beatles kick, normally around November. Obviously, I got the Beatles shirt on. Been listening to a lot of Beatles, a lot of Paul McCartney. But anyway, I would say that these are pretty good. Probably the best versions of these out there, if I do have to say, at least on CD. Don't know how the record actually sounds because I haven't bought the record. But these two right here, pick them up if you haven't. Start with the red. Go back and get the blue. You just have to listen, if you don't have these in your collection and you're a Beatles fan, I highly recommend it. Don't saying you don't have to replace the versions you have, but these two right here really pop and make the songs come to life. So I appreciate you guys sticking to the end. Bit of a longer video here, clocking in at 10 minutes. I appreciate all you sticking around. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.